when I was on tour with Sonia, we were doing lots of shows. We were traveling from university to university and in parts of the country, and I guess universities and colleges tending to be more privileged environments where often, or I would say almost most often, Sonia would get on stage each night and rarely see a face that looked like hers in the audience. And I had never before thought about the weight of that, and didn't at first understand why she wasn't walking off stage, lit up with excitement every night, and how heavy that would be to carry that around and just not seeing a face that looks like yours in the audience. And one thing I realized on that tour, and it's embarrassing to say I didn't realize it until then, but because of the way that I started my career going from college to college to college, almost every night the person hosting me at the university had a face that looked like mine. It wasn't until that tour that I realized that I don't think I would have a career in poetry if I were not white. And that's not to say I'm not grateful for the career I have. I'm immensely grateful, but to acknowledge that privilege has so much to do with my success. And anytime somebody, a white person, has success, generally. The other thing I learned on that tour that unfortunately Sonia had to teach me was that it should never be the responsibility of people of color to educate white people about their privilege. And so I hope y'all are having those conversations with each other and just making sure the white folks in the audience, we take responsibility for talking about that shit. And something else I want to say about that. Yeah. I have a poem called Blue Blanket, and it's about sexual assault. And one thing that I've noticed over the years that always breaks my heart is that if there are men in the audience, if they're going to start talking or if they're going to walk out of the room, it will often be during that poem. And in this tour, I've not had another poem where white folks in the audience tend to chat more, talk more than that one about white privilege that I just read. So thank you for listening to it. So thank you for your listening. This next poem, I read at every show I do. Chris wrote the music for it. And I wrote it when I heard a story about a soldier who had been set on fire and burned to death because he was queer. And when I heard that story, I knew I would carry it around forever. I think there are a lot of things that we shouldn't ever be able to shake off. And I started reading similar stories about people in the LGBTQ community who had been tortured or killed that way by being set on fire and burned. And I kept thinking about everyone who had died that way and what they might say from where they are now. I got to read this poem in a couple of churches recently, and, which is great because that's sort of the environment that I wrote it to be read in. Almost all my poems I actually wrote for churches, they just don't invite me very much. Anyway. The night I was torn from the pages of their Bible and burned alive. My ashes came down like snow, and a girl who had never seen my face saw me falling from the sky and laid down on her back to make an angel in the powder of my bones. From heaven I watched her, though my eyes were still flame and my ribs were still blue. They didn't win, I whispered, as her arms built my wings. They didn't win, look at that moon. It is a pebble in my hand. Tonight, I could skip it across that fog-drunk sea to their lashes, accordion in the light. And all they knew of hate is that it couldn't beat the love out of me. That when they dropped me to the grave, I fell like a bucket into a well and came up full, carving my lover's name into the skin of a weeping willow that had spent its entire life laughing at the rain. Hold me like a lantern, staircase my spine. When they bring their children to my funeral to scream faggot at my dust, tell them I was born into this casket, but I wouldn't pull the splinters from my heart any more than Christ would pull the thorns from his crimson head. They can come 1,000 times with their burning match and their gasoline, with their hungry laws and their empty mouths full of prayers to that God who greeted me at his gates with his throat full of trumpets and his tears full of shame as his trembling palms collected the cinder of his children's crime. I know what holy is. I know the soul is shaped like a bowl. I know the lies we try to fill it with, and we spill too often the orchards inside. But my lover's shoes were tied with guitar strings, and when I walked beside, there was a silo in my chest. There was a field full of sun. There was a river full of gold that we left to pick our sweethearts from the trees. They kept uprooting tombstones so the names of the dead would crumble into poems. Write me down like this. Say my ashes never made the news. Say the jury was full of shotguns. Then say the snow that fell on the tip of your tongue refused to melt away. Say this to the kids hiding their heartbeats from their father's fists. I planted the garden of my kiss. I opened the night with my teeth. I love so hard that when they press their ear to the track, the train they hear coming will still be my chest. A rumbling harpoon, a sky they cannot bury. Look at that moon. I am a pebble in her hand, a harmonica held to the mouth of the river, where nothing ever